Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday morning connection, our devotional service. I'm so thankful to be with you as always. We are in the month of March. And man, here in Florida, we are enjoying some absolutely gorgeous weather. And if it's any indication of the summer, it might be a hot summer, but it is beautiful and we're grateful for the sunshine. I'm grateful for all of you, you beautiful lights that shine in this world that can feel dark at times. So thank you for being here and thank you for being available. Um, this is our series really for the month of March under the overarching theme of the year, which is the Great Emergence. Our series this month is about shedding that which no longer serves you. It's dissolving the obsolete self. And in part of that process, there's some unlearning that needs to occur. And we said that I felt led toward this, that fear was not our enemy. It never has been our enemy. In fact, at one time, as I alluded to or directly said in the poem that you see circulated around entitled The Coat, is that at one point in my life, those fears that I learned in some way served my survival, possibly. And maybe for you, maybe served your survival. The issue comes when the learned fear starts to limit us in our current situation, our current desire to move forward and to expand. And so as we dissolve the obsolete self, fear is something that is important for us to unlearn and adding on to that. So this would be week 2, talking about fear, which we said was the main architect of the obsolete self. Fear is not your nature. Pat yourself on the chest. Go ahead and make that declaration. Fear is not my nature. It is not who you are naturally. And anything that's not naturally you can be unlearned, can be deprogrammed, uninstalled, if you will, and I can create a new loop. This is what I believe it means really deeply from a mystical standpoint to be born again. It's about having freshness in the ability to see fresh with fresh eyes, how to live this life without the conditioning and limitation that we were given. I've said before that often the limitations that have been imposed on us have caused the lamentation of our soul and has caused us to lament, have caused us to feel a sense of despair, desperation, because the conditioning that was passed on to us was not meant for us. And for a season of our life, it may have fit, but I can't wear the onesie from when I was 3 years old. I need to be able to remove that garment and put on a different garment. And so last week we talked about something I think maybe is simple, but it's incredibly profound. And that is that fear is learned. And most of the fears that shape our lives currently were installed by belief systems through your culture, through family, through your social system, through religion, through survival experiences, even traumas. Many of us still trying to recover from the trauma-informed life. We don't realize often how much that trauma is informing our current way of seeing and processing even what we hear, processing the information and possibly adding inflammation to it. And over time, those fears slowly became our identity. Not just something that we feel emotionally, but something that we believe we are. And we start to carry that around in us. And we'll say things like, and I've been guilty of this, I'm just an anxious person. I'm just a worrier. It's just what I do. I'm just cautious. I'm just trying to be realistic here. I'm just careful. And here's the thing about careful, is that if you're full of care, it could be leading to stress and anxiety and living in a constant state of bracing for what might be next, looking for that next shoe to drop. Some of you hear those things and you think, John, that's not just a sentence. That's my whole biography. That's my whole life. And I get that because I've been there. For years, fear drove my car, and it drove so well and for so long that I called it wisdom. I thought I was doing life the way I should do life, cautiously, being careful. But today, I want us to go a step deeper. If fear was learned, then fear is not your nature. Let that sit with you for a moment. I had you pat yourself on the chest and say it a minute ago, but let it sit with you a moment. If it was learned, then it's not who you are. It's not your nature. Bishop Carlton Pearson would say it's not who you are. It may be where you are, but it's not who you are. The deepest part of you is not afraid. The deepest part of you is aware, and it's awareness itself. The deepest part of you is alive. The deepest part of you is love. The deepest part of you is joy and peace. Fear belongs to the conditioned mind. Love belongs and is the original self. The emerging self is not someone who never feels fear. That's not what I'm suggesting. And that's not even the goal. The goal is not to be completely rid of fear, but it's to fear less. In fact, when we say I'm fearless, what we're really saying is that I fear less than I used to. The goal is freedom from being led by fear. That's the true goal. It's not to say that I'm never afraid of anything ever again, and then if I am, I'm going to judge myself for it. The emerging self still hears fear and can still feel fear, but it no longer hands fear the steering wheel, because for the most of our lives, fear was driving the car. Fear was the tour guide. Fear was the one that was taking us where we were headed. And fear chooses the career. Fear chooses the relationships. Fear was choosing the silence. Fear was choosing the compromise. Fear chooses the version of ourselves that feels the safest. Again, going back to that coat that I wore then, it fit at the time. It in some way kept me warm, insulated, and then here's the thing, what once insulated you could quickly isolate you and keep you from your greatest life. So some of us we even slid into the back seat. And then we apologize for every turn that fear made. And at some point in a person's awakening, they begin to realize something. What we called protection was often just limitation wearing a special armor. And what we called wisdom was sometimes just fear with a really good vocabulary, a great story. And the journey of dissolving the obsolete self is not about becoming someone new, but it's about removing what was never truly you to start with. And we're not dissing it. We're not casting shade on it. We're shedding light on it. Now, here's something that's fascinating as we do this process. Fear has a very recognizable voice or a very recognizable tone, and it has a particular narrative. Now, I want to speak to something here, and I'm asking you to stay with me. Once you learn to hear it, you start noticing all of the places that it is in your life. Let me explain. Fear always predicts the future. And it typically predicts negativity in the future. Fear says, if I speak up, I'm going to be rejected. If I rest and chill, I'm going to fall behind, so I won't produce enough. If I change, I'm going to lose people. And if I try, I might fail. If I fail, I may never recover from that. You know, there's an old quote that says, if you believe you can do something, you probably can. But if you believe you can't, you most assuredly will not. And if fear is in the driver's seat, fear is always going to be predicting a future. Fear speaks with great confidence about a future that does not exist. Notice that. Fear talks as if it already knows the future. But fear is not a psychic. Fear is not a prophet. Fear is just a storyteller. And it almost always tells the same story: disaster, embarrassment, loss, failure, humiliation. What if it doesn't work? If you look back over your life, you'll notice something, I think, probably humbling. I know this has happened for me. Most of what fear predicted never actually happened. And most of what fear predicted in your life never would happen. Mark Twain once said this: I have known many troubles, but most of them never happened. Seneca noticed that the same thing essentially centuries earlier than that, when Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Jesus taught it this way: do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will have enough worry for itself. And Buddha said this simply: pain is certain, but suffering is optional. And I say, the mind rehearses tragedies that life never stages. In other words, fear is imagination that's trained toward threat, trying to predict danger that may never occur. And this is why we can understand caution. Caution is good. But when we're led by fear, we're being led literally by a system that's trying to predict a future that doesn't exist. It is creativity pointed in the wrong direction. And it's not natural. It's learned. Now, this is where spiritual maturity begins, to me. We start learning the difference between two very different inner states of being: discernment and suspicion. Discernment and suspicion. Discernment is calm. Discernment listens. Discernment is grounded. Discernment sees clearly without panicking. Suspicion, though, is very different. Suspicion is tense. Suspicion is scanning the room. Suspicion expects harm. It's living in the worst case scenario. Suspicion expects betrayal. You see, fear trains the nervous system to live suspiciously and superstitiously. But love restores our discernment, our intuition. Often our intuition has been, we have outsourced our intuition to fear and panic, and the prediction is a poor prediction, because it's based on a story, not based in reality. And this is where things get interesting historically, because many religious systems learned something very early: fear is effective. Fear demands, and I'll say fear actually produces obedience. Fear can fill up buildings. Fear can make people behave. Fear can make people write checks, but fear cannot produce awakening. Fear can control behavior, but only love can transform the consciousness. Which is why the early Christian text actually says something radical: perfect love casts out fear. That's what Yeshua ben Joseph, that's what Jesus the Christ said. Love perfected removes fear. It removes that obstacle that's not really you. It's not natural. And yet, over the years, religion has utilized fear to bind people up. Perfect love casts out fear. It doesn't manage it. It doesn't negotiate with it. It does not coexist with it. It casts out fear. And fear-based faith creates obedient followers, but love-based faith creates awakened humans. Or at the very least, maybe it doesn't create it, but it certainly stimulates the awakening that's always already within. And awakening has always been a little more dangerous than obedience, especially to the systems that are built believing that you're going to be in fight, flight, and fear. Because awake humans stop letting fear drive the car. Now, here's another important point that I would like to make. Unlearning fear doesn't mean becoming naive. It means becoming aware. Fear is still going to arise at times. The nervous system is still going to react at times. But instead of immediately believing the fear, we begin to gently question the fear. So awakening is not going to, it's not a total cure as if then all of a sudden fear is never going to occur. The difference is as we start to question it, when fear appears, we ask, what is this trying to protect? Or how old is this pattern? Is this a pattern? Is this present reality or is this a past memory? Am I perceiving the present moment through past memories? Because here's something we now understand, even through neuroscience. The nervous system does not measure time well. It doesn't. Your body can react to something today based on something that happened 20 years ago because it's been ingrained, again, built into the software, ultimately affecting and sometimes infecting the hardware. So it can hear a tone of voice, a facial expression, maybe a moment of uncertainty, and suddenly the body feels danger, even when danger is not actually present. But it feels that way. And often the body is reacting to yesterday, not to the present moment. The obsolete self lives in yesterday. It produces its story to you based on what has already occurred. So it's not new. It's an old story being told in a present moment. But the emerging self lives in the present. And in this present moment, most of us are far safer in this present moment than our nervous systems actually believe. I'm going to do something here real quick. I'm going to ask you wherever you are. Let's practice this for just a few seconds. And I'm going to ask you right where you are right now, if it's safe to do so, to gently inhale through the nose for a count of 4. Hold for 2 seconds and then exhale slowly for a count of 6. And allow the shoulders to fall, to drop. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for a moment. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue to breathe. And as you breathe, just notice in this moment right here, are you actually in danger? Or possibly in just an unfamiliar space of growth? And this is a practice you can use every time you start to have a nervous system response to something that's occurring in your life, where you can simply get into the breath and say, in this moment, am I actually in danger or am I just in an unfamiliar place of growth? You see, here's the thing. Growth often feels like a danger to our nervous system, especially when our nervous system is ingrained and trained in fear. But I need you to hear this. Discomfort is not destruction. Discomfort is not destruction. Discomfort is expansion. And every time we step beyond the old pattern, the nervous system says something is wrong. But often what is happening is not danger, it's evolution, it's expansion. You are not a failure for feeling afraid. You are a soul in transition asking, who's driving this car now? Fear or love? Fear or love? And you're not even angry at the fear. You're just noticing it. You're recognizing it and remembering in that recognition that fear is not who I am. It's been a part of my journey. Possibly really kept me safe multiple times. Maybe it was wisdom even at its time. But now it's become a coat or a suit of clothes that's too restricting. It doesn't fit. So dissolving fear does not mean becoming completely fearless. It means fear is no longer the one leading your life. So you begin living from a deeper center, from presence, from love, from trust, from joy, from peace, from fulfillment, from that sense of knowing that divinity is your original nature. And even though you may have normalized the limitations that fear has introduced, the natural you is limitless, boundless, has so many possibilities and so much potential. And slowly something beautiful, I believe, begins to happen. You start remembering who you were before fear trained you. The truest version of you was never afraid of being you. The child that you were once in your life, trusted curiosity, trusted connection, trusted belonging. And that trust is not gone. It's just been covered up, layer by layer, experience by experience, fear by fear. But as fear dissolves, trust returns. Not childishness, childlikeness, not naivety, but aliveness. You're not dissolving into nothing. You are dissolving into your highest truth. And the truth does not tremble. Truth stands. Fear is what you learned. Love is what you are. You were never meant to be driven by fear. You were always meant to be guided by the power of love. And up till now, your chauffeur in life may have been fear. But it's not naturally you. It is not who you are. Fear trembles. Truth stands. And this is just another layer of dissolving the obsolete self. And once again, don't fall into the trap of cursing the old coat, or cursing, or being angry at, or thinking that it was bad that you had fear. It was a part of the journey, but it doesn't have to be the driver in your car of life anymore. And this is again why Jesus said what he did, why the Buddha said what he did, why Seneca said what he did, why Mark Twain said what he did. So that we wouldn't constantly fall into the trap of fear being in the driver's seat. And I go back to once again, reiterate this. When I recognize this, it doesn't mean that fear instantly stops talking. Oh no, it doesn't instantly stop talking. Don't get fooled by that. And here's the thing, you know it's going to come up again. You know it's going to rise again at some point, and it's going to say some things, and it's going to share its own narrative. You know this ahead of time. And in knowing that, you have an awareness so that you're able to move back to discernment instead of shrinking from fear. You can move back to a patience and intuition rather than panic and anxiety. So fear trembles. Truth stands. As we dissolve the obsolete self, it is a little disorienting at times. Just be aware of that. But allow yourself to flow in this higher truth. I promise you this. This for our community, this for our movement is going to bring us all into such a high level of authenticity that it will give us the ability to be honest with ourselves, honest with others. It'll give us the ability to return to the highest form of truth, which is love. And love challenges fear. Love challenges our prejudice. Love challenges our deep-held resentments and bitterness. But it invites us. It doesn't demand, it invites us into our highest truth. And so, as we continue to move through this month of March, just know that you are not fear. Fear is something that occurs, but it's not who you are. All right, my friends, I want to say thank you once again for being here today. If you believe that this message needs to be heard, that this sharing that's occurring in this movement needs to be heard, pass this along to somebody. Share this message with someone. Maybe somebody's out there who is caught in the dogmatic fundamentalist approach to religion, which is being afraid, essentially afraid of God and the devil. Or maybe that's someone who's swung all the way to the other side and they're in the process of spiritually bypassing it, saying it's not real and it's not true, so it doesn't matter. And but they also continue to feel it, and so then they feel extremely guilty because they're trying their best to affirm their way out of it. Either way, both are dogmatic. And I believe in some way both miss the mark. Because I believe the mark of a true awakening and emergence, actual emergence, is for us to be able to be whole. And wholeness is more important than rightness. Wholeness is more important than purity and righteousness, as we call it, or holiness. I am not here to be pure or even to be good. I'm here on this planet to become whole. Fully and completely, as Carl Jung would say, individuated. Full coherence and cohesiveness and congruence with mind, body, and spirit. Part of the way we do that is to recognize that fear is not who you are. Fear was learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. I love you, family. Again, so grateful for you being here. Oh yeah, listen, by the way, those of you who don't know already, we are in the process of finally signing our lease on our new location. And I'm telling you, I'm asking you to consider over the next few weeks, at least coming together at least one time in that space and celebrating with us in person. It would be great to see all of you. We start our first service there on the 22nd, which is a week from today. So I'm asking you to consider coming and hanging out with us. I'm sure in the next few weeks, we'll do sort of a grand reopening, kind of a homecoming type event. And hopefully you will make plans to be with us, even if you are a little bit distanced. I love you so much. I'm going to get out of here now. Go and make it a great day just because you can. Peace. Loved ones, thank you so much for joining us today for our devotional service. The ways to give are on the screen right now. You can, of course, text to give. You can utilize our app. You can also go to firstunity.org/give. And on that page, you can actually decide to become an auto giver. That's really what it takes to become a sustaining partner to this ministry. If you believe in what we're doing here, I'm asking you to consider supporting the light that currently is and seeding that light for the future. We continue with our ways to give by offering our P.O. Box, our Cash App, and our QR code for you to scan on the screen. So I want to say a special thank you to everyone who has chosen this community to be a place where you want to give your financial seed. Know that when you're planting that seed, it is going into fertile soil, and you activate the law of circulation in your life. God bless you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. It begins with me. I am peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joy. and let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. It begins with me. I am peace. 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 To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun.